to a cover story conversation with Sugata Srinivas Raju. We are here to talk about his second book. He's written a book on Rahul Gandhi, Strange Burdens, the politics and predicaments of Rahul Gandhi. I'm sorry. His earlier book was on Devi Gowda, again, a very fascinating read. So welcome, Sugata, and congratulations on the book on Rahul.
Thank you so very much, Priya. I mean, happy to be here, happy to be speaking to you.
No, good to have you, and you've chosen a very good topic. But first of all, if you could just share with our viewers what exactly is the book about. It is about Rahul. You also call it a critical appreciation of Rahul Gandhi in one of your interviews. I remember you saying this. So, why did you choose to write this? And a little bit, curtain raiser of sorts about the book, if you can share with our viewers.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the book which,
Thank you.
if your readers have still not have had a chance to see it, I think it will hit the markets very soon, but this is the book. Right?
But I've been seeing it all over. I think it's already doing very well, Sugata. Congratulations.
Thank you. Anyway, coming back to your question, this is a book not of critical appreciation, but of critical sympathy. So I think there's a wealth of difference between the two phrases, because you and I as journalists know that we are not allowed appreciation, but we're allowed a bit of sympathy here and there. But it's critical sympathy. It's not uncritical sympathy.
Unless we're talking about Modi, then we're allowed.
Yeah. Of course, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
So this is a book of critical sympathy, and after I finished the Deve Gowda book, I was working on a much bigger book, a book of historical research on the emergency, that is on Rahul Gandhi's grandmother. So this book is more based in the US because I try to capture the international response to the emergency. So I was not planning this book. When my publisher called me and surprised me with this request, I was working on something else, far away and in the archives. So the first question that came to me when she put this question across, if I would do a book on Rahul Gandhi, was what is there to write about Rahul Gandhi? Everybody seems to have an opinion on Rahul Gandhi. Right. Everybody has seen him up front and close, through the media. He has been around for about 20 years, and he has not held any administrative positions, or he has not been into governance. So obviously, you can't debate his administrative decisions or governance kind of impulse or his policy decisions, because he's been mostly a party man. He's been mostly an ordinary MP, quote unquote, an ordinary MP. And that's it, but the only thing that seems to be working for him in terms of a book, was his surname and the fact that he belonged to the Nehru Gandhi dynasty. So I asked myself before responding to my publisher, what is it that I may want to write if at all I decide to write? So then, I told her that since there is nothing archival that can be put together, or nothing that can be written with a certain kind of distance. Even with the Deve Gowda book, I stopped 25 years before, before our time. In a sense, it stops at around 2000. I don't write anything after 2000, and I have reserved that chapter for a much later time. So, because you need to keep that 25-year distance to be able to look at something, not just objectively, but also things change enormously. And your judgment today may not be your judgment tomorrow. Your reading today may not be your reading tomorrow. So I was a little perplexed about this offer. And then I told her that, okay, I will do a longish essay like I used to do in the Outlook magazine or wherever, or New Yorker style long essay, 100 pages. So she said, that's fine with me. But then when I started writing, Priya, and there was a short deadline, and you and I are very adept at sort of meeting deadlines. So I had a 4-month or a 5-month deadline maximum, and a lot was happening. So when I started writing, I thought it would be very unfair to place Rahul Gandhi in just his own context, but I had to bring in the larger society, larger political context. So when I started writing, when these contexts started coming around, I think the book became a little bigger. So today it is around 336 pages with notes and index and all that. But I did not plan to write such a big book.
Let me quote my favorite quote from Manishankar Iyer. I was in Sunday magazine and he was a columnist for us. And I was asked to tell him that his 2 pages should now is now going to be cut to 1 page. So he says, but I need 500 words just to clear my throat. So, I think that's what
No,
happened to you.
no,
I
no,
hope you
yeah,
got
no,
your
no,
voice heard.
as magazine journalists, in
Uh,
1,000 words, you're still not begun the whole thing. So that's
Correct.
exactly what happened with this book. Devagowda book was a 600-page book, and this, by that standard, is a smaller one. 50, 60 pages, I could not resolve the direction that it would take. So I took a much longer, space.
But your book has taken direction. But do you feel Rahul Gandhi has taken a direction? I mean, I've been hearing your comments saying you're very disappointed at his various rebrands and relaunches. He's still a work in progress, isn't he, Sugar?
Absolutely. He's a work in progress. I mean, there are several reasons. If you look at just his humanity, Priya,
Hmm.
I think we have to give him full marks. He has been speaking the right kind of language. He has been empathetic. Hardly do you see any leader in India today speak the language that Rahul Gandhi speaks. So that makes him less political and more, you'll have to put him in a different category. If you just listen to his approach to people and approach to issues, it's not typical political kind of approach. He's not someone who wants to immediately gain, although his party may want to. See,
Yeah.
if you remember the Bharat Jodo Yatra, which I sort of write a chapter about in the book,
Hmm.
even at the right at the beginning, the spokespersons of the Congress party started clarifying that this is not about making Rahul Gandhi the Prime Minister of India. We are not doing this yatra to sort of gain electoral mileage for the Congress party. They kept on emphasizing that this was about bringing India together. This was about, a more Sufi kind of spiritual kind of messaging that was happening, and not political. In fact, in Karnataka, a lot of people, when he was walking through Karnataka, and since I am based in Bangalore, a lot
Right.
of congressmen would call me in the evening, and they would say they're very disappointed that he is not doing what they're asking him to do in terms of political, messaging.
Messaging.
So they were very, very unhappy. But of course, after they won Karnataka, they were the first to say that, oh, Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra had greatly helped them. It had got nothing to
But
do with his success in Karnataka.
I was that you preempted that question.
Right, right,
I think
right.
that was going to be my. But yeah, so I've also held that Rahul is better running an NGO. He is a nice guy. His instincts are in the right place, which is very rare in a politician today. He does seem like a caring, sharing guy. He reaches out to the downtrodden,
Right.
like Kalavati, and he actually follows up. He
Yes,
doesn't
yes,
just
yes,
talk.
yes,
But
yes.
nice guys don't always make nice politicians, and that's the problem of Rahul Gandhi.
Absolutely. See, until and unless he's trying to, I mean, create a completely subvert the whole Indian political system, and completely invert the whole thing and make a new beginning for Indian politics and Indian democracy. And I don't know if he has that kind of a capability and the strength that a Mahatma Gandhi had.
Hmm.
Mahatma Gandhi rewired the entire political scene since 2019. Of course, it starts from 2015, but I think it starts building up from 2019 on until 1948 when he is assassinated. So he completely made you look at the whole thing very, very differently. But I don't think Rahul Gandhi can be put in the same category because, there are several problems. And one of the problems is that Rahul Gandhi does not have, this is one of the major things I try to sort of argue in the book. People are free to disagree with me, but the major problem is that he does not have a cultural narrative. There is no cultural rootedness in Rahul Gandhi because India is a very, very vast country, and you cannot just speak the constitutional language. If you look at Mr. Modi, he's
Hmm.
always speaking the civilizational language, trying to, anything that he speaks starts from 1,000 years ago. I mean, he speaks very, very little about today. It's always 1,000 years ago. So, but Rahul Gandhi is a constitutional conservatist. Constitutional conservatism is today's credo of Rahul Gandhi. Although he has tried to, do a little bit of temple hopping and this and that, there is very little conviction about those things, and those things are done with very little understanding as to what their consequences will be. He has tried to be a pilgrim. He has tried to, wear the janeyu. He has tried to go to temples, and behaved in a manner that a upper caste Hindu would behave. So all that he has been trying to do, but then they have not thought through those things. And India, if you're unable to think through your cultural position, your cultural line, I don't think you'll make any headway. People, veteran politicians, they may not speak the cultural line openly, like a Lalu Prasad Yadav or a Mulayam, but they're all rooted in a certain kind of rural economy and a rural society. And naturally, even when they speak, the idiom that they speak, automatically connects with people. But Rahul has not had that advantage for the simple reason he has had a very protected living. And he struggles, he tries, and I completely appreciate his sincerity. But the problem is it's not political and it's not cultural enough.
Very well said. Rahul doesn't have that connect. I mean, you
Yes.
really put it very well. And the way, say we see that with the old generation versus this generation also. Say with Omar and a Farooq or a Sachin or a Rajesh, those seniors just had that earthiness and the connect, which these guys are still,
Priya, just to butt in a little there, because you mentioned Omar and Pilot and names
Farooq.
like that,
Hmm.
Farooq. See, they're all also dynasts in some way, but they're very different from Rahul because they're all
Explain.
rooted, yeah, they're all rooted in a certain state and a certain culture. For example, Sachin
Yes.
Pilot, whether you like it or not, he comes from a place called Rajasthan. Omar Abdullah, whether you like it or not, comes from a state called Jammu and Kashmir. Akhilesh Yadav, all peers of Rahul Gandhi, they come from somewhere. But now tell me, where does Rahul Gandhi come from? You can't say no, but Delhi belongs to nobody. Delhi is a national capital, and there is no. It's a city made up of immigrants largely. And Rahul Gandhi, that thing can be an advantage that you're not rooted, and it can also be a huge disadvantage. So when Sachin Pilot wears a safa,
You
or
see that he's,
you see that he belongs to
yeah.
some place.
I
But
stand
Rahul,
corrected. You're right. Yeah.
yeah, they
I get
don't
your point.
sort of, yeah, Rahul cannot sort of make any such rooted claims. That's a fascinating kind of thing that we see between dynasts and dynasts.
So he lacks an identity, he lacks a demography, he lacks, Rahul Gandhi
Absolutely.
is in search of a home also, apart from.
Yeah, and 10 years or 20 years ago, probably that was an advantage. But with Modi and BJP and RSS creating a kind of civilizational and cultural context, political context to India, it becomes enormously difficult to not belong somewhere. Modi belongs to something. He belongs to a certain kind of Hindutva, philosophy. He
Hmm.
says, "I'm a Hindu." I mean, he performs. He performs the Hindu rituals openly on the stage, although he's a constitutionally mandated prime minister. So he
Right.
belongs. He tries to belong somewhere always. But the
Hmm.
problem with Rahul is, as a contrast to Modi, he does not belong anywhere. And that was an advantage 20 years ago, 25 years ago, but not today.
Absolutely. You said that Rahul is saying all the right things. I
Yes.
also concede and agree with that. Whether on China, the economy, on
Yes.
the Chinese invasion, he's been right. He's been on COVID. He was the first one to raise the alarm. So when a
Yes.
leader says the right things and is yet not believed versus someone who may not be factually true, but yet everybody believes him, therein
Yeah.
lies your gap.
That's right. See, there is a machinery to carry forward what Mr. Modi says. See, I was telling somebody the other day that,
Hmm.
see, the moment Modi speaks in parliament, the only thing the Congress party will end up doing is fact checking. They don't do
Okay.
anything else. They play the role of an alt news or another fact checking machine, but they don't counter it with a cultural
Own
narrative.
narrative.
So even if Mr. Modi, see, if he signals something in the parliament and it reaches the last mile through a WhatsApp group in a certain way, which is more applicable, amiable, and electorally beneficial to the BJP. But in the Congress, the system is broken. The institutional system does not know how to take forward this kind of aggressive, humanistic, liberal, kind of messaging. They
Hmm.
and see I have discussed some of the routes, possible routes, and things like that in my book. But the problem is that that last mile, the institutional so kind of thing, has broken down. And when they tried to respond to Mr. Modi on social media or the BJP or RSS on social media, they only ended up, Priya, you will agree, replicating what the BJP was doing. So the aggression or the abuse
Trolling.
or the trolling or trying to say that you are with us or, I mean, against us. See, I mean,
Hmm.
you and I are fairly liberal, fairly, centrist kind of people. So I don't think we would like to be put this question, are you with me or are you against me? We can say we are somewhere in between, we don't know. But
Right.
that kind of thing is not even allowed. Forget the BJP and RSS, we know that they do that. But even the Congress does not allow you to sort of take a critical line and survive the social media trolls.
How has your book survived the social media trolls?
So far, I'm okay, but I mean, I plan to tell a lot of congressmen who are very afraid of what is there in the book. I mean, I've just trying to tell myself that I should tell them, I should probably borrow a slogan of Rahul Gandhi and tell them, "Daro mat, इसमें कुछ नहीं है, पढ़िए." At least you read. Your
Yeah.
opponents will not read, but you
Hmm.
read and you critically engage with me. You say you're wrong on this, you're right on this. Okay, you're absolutely fine with this. You say anything you want, but don't be
Right.
afraid to read, because you are trying to foster a culture in India where you want people to read
Hmm.
and you want people to critically engage. That is exactly what Rahul Gandhi is telling. He's speaking European Enlightenment values to you and me every single day. Reason, I mean, the kind of justice, uh,
Yeah.
equality, egalitarianism, those are the values that he seems to represent. And those are also our constitutional values. So if you want to engage with me, I am willing to engage even with my worst critic. But please
Okay.
don't be afraid and say, oh, हम नहीं आएंगे आपका launch में, or we won't be on the panel. Oh, we are very afraid of what is there. I've heard all this in the last 15 days. So I
Wow.
keep
Okay.
yeah. I keep telling them that it's another book, and I'm not the judgmental type. If you've read my Deve Gowda book, I don't like to judge people. I mean, I try to place them in their larger context. Even
Yeah, which is
here,
what journalism should be. Should be
should be, yes,
explanatory and not judgmental.
absolutely, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to take a break and come back and keep this conversation going. And I want to ask Sugata that, so Rahul Gandhi's problem seems to be also in one, if I can do it in a nutshell and take a shortcut, is communication also. Is it
Yes.
the delivery? Is it the content? That's something I'm going to ask after a quick break. Hello and welcome back to a cover story conversation. We are in conversation with Sugata Srinivas Raju and of course about his new book on Rahul Gandhi. Sugata, we were discussing Rahul's politics. So lack of communication, Manish Tiwari very famously said that we lost the elections because we could not communicate our achievements better, the UPA's achievements. Rahul Gandhi is the head of the communications department, so to speak, in that sense. So where is the problem?
The problem is, yes, see, sometimes communication alone is not the problem. See, Congress famously, I think, mistook the fact that BJP came to power because of its dominance of the media and social media. I tend to
Hmm.
disagree that that's just one of the reasons. But they had a very strong message. See, if you don't even have a message,
Hmm.
what are you going to communicate? You may have all the technological know-how. That's common to everybody, to all politicians. Everybody can open a Twitter account, everybody can have a Facebook account, everybody can spend some money and have a social media team to sort of push their tweets across. But what are you going to push across is the question. So Congress has a problem on both levels. One is you have a problem with the message itself, and two, your communication is not organic. For the BJP, it's an organic kind of a thing. They've been saying these things for 100 years, Priya. It's not today
Hmm.
or yesterday. I mean, the whole system, the Hindutva system or the Hindu Rashtra kind of idea has been propped up for the last 100 years. And it has
So,
had several devastating consequences. So they have a message. And in the Congress, the problem is your pursuit has become only power. For the last, say, I mean, since Mrs. Indira Gandhi, these times of Nehru and was different. But since
hmm.
Mrs. Indira Gandhi, it ceased to be a kind of party that stood for anything, but a kind of omnibus kind of power machine, which was trying to chase power. So if you ask a congressman and a BJP person a simple question, what do you stand for? The BJP person will give you a very convincing answer. He will
Hmm.
say, I want Muslims out of this country. I want the abrogation of Article 370. I want uniform civil code. They'll give you 100 reasons, cultural reasons, not political reasons, cultural reasons, which they say they need power to implement, which is exactly what we have seen in the last 10 years. But if you ask a congressman, what do you want? They'll say, sir, we have this portfolio, I want a better portfolio. Oh, हमको ticket नहीं मिला लड़ने के लिए. I need to become an MP. I need to become a minister. I need to become chief minister. So ambitions have been political. I mean, power ambitions, not even political, power ambitions. So, which is where Rahul Gandhi has made a huge difference in the last 10 years, whether he likes it or not, or his party men like it or not. He has tried to reorient the party towards an ideological mission.
But what
Whether
is
you,
that mission? It's
good
not
question.
Hindutva. On one election, he's displaying the Janev and going to temples. On the second election, he's wearing, so what is it?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a very good question. What is it that he's trying to represent? Is a question I wish I knew the answer to, because you're very,
What
very right.
should he?
There are these contradictions. See, I mean, largely he's representing a liberal space, but
Okay.
yeah, largely he's trying to represent a liberal space.
Yeah.
Largely he's trying to represent the constitutional values. But there again, there are Ambedkarites who will disagree on a few things. Then if you look at Dravidian federal system, they will disagree with Rahul Gandhi on a few things. So there are a lot of such contradictions do exist, but he's largely, if you remember his speech in Parliament, I think February of 2022, where he spoke about his idea of India and Modi spoke about his idea of India. Those are two of the finest speeches in recent times where the ideas became very clear. Mr. Modi spoke about the Vishnu Purana and Rahul spoke about India being a federal state. But it's ironical he was borrowing the Tamil Nadu model to say that, more autonomy to the states, financial autonomy, cultural autonomy, linguistic autonomy, and all that. But then the Congress party did exactly the opposite for 50 years. So, there is a lot of baggage. So he cannot push that beyond a point. And when it comes to, this whole so what does he represent was your question. So the liberal space largely, the humanist space largely. But if you look at the last speech he made in Parliament, he suddenly stands, on Bharat Mata ki murder hua hai, that kind of line.
Manipur.
So now, Manipur speech. See, if you look at it very closely, Priya, Bharat Mata is an iconography created by the right of India. So when the moment you invoke that iconography, and the moment you say Ravan is a very bad person, Lord Ram had a moral kind of superiority over Ravan, you're automatically alienating the south of India. The south of India doesn't look at Ravan that the same way. And the moment you use Bharat Mata, your iconographic representation is, you're not speaking the constitutional language there. You're actually borrowing the RSS language or the so they'll be very
Isn't
happy.
it a clever way of saying that you are murdering your own beliefs?
No, I mean, I don't see that's the other point that I want to make. He's extremely ill prepared when he comes to the parliament.
I thought he wasted an opportunity
He
also on that
waited
no confidence.
hugely. And I think the other thing is that his speeches have never been structured. They should have been thought through. I mean, his own grandmother worked through her speeches, worked through her press conferences. She was not a natural. She was made to look like a natural. If somebody thinks Mr. Modi is a natural, I think they're completely mistaken. Mr. Modi prepares himself. You see, there is a preparation required. If you want to be on message, yeah.
Right.
If you're a brand, and if you want to be on message, you will prepare. To remain on message is one of the toughest things for a politician. You can't speak your mind. I and you can speak our mind because we are journalists. We are quasi academics, or an academic can speak his mind, but a politician who's representing a party, there are things that he likes, things that he doesn't like, but there is a message, the message that the party,
consistency.
That consistency. To be on message has never been Rahul Gandhi's virtue.
But do you still think he hates power? We have that famous power is poison, but everything he's doing, even now he wants to be, as that Bharat Jodo, Gandhian mode. But it is all, they may say it's not to come to power, but Bharat Jodo was actually Congress Jodo, and at the end, there is a
Yeah, I mean,
political message.
it can be read that way completely, because that is the kind of collateral signaling that happens anyway. So one
Right.
cannot avoid that. Uh, uh,
So
but what
Rahul
is
Gandhi, does he like power, or you think he still
yeah, the
doesn't want
power.
it?
There is an entire chapter in the book on power and abdication. So I mean, I will not reveal much to your readers on that, but I actually trace the problem. I mean, at least, I mean, in my limited understanding, I try to see where it comes from. Why is that hesitation about power, or at least stated? I mean, whether it is there really inside or not, we don't know, because he has not given access to us, to his mind, on a lot of things. I
Yet
don't
you
think.
met him twice, or
Yes,
more.
yes, yes. I've
Twice.
met him more than twice, but then twice exclusively, where we had long discussions. But then, he always comes across as a very genial, nice human being. It's wonderful to be in conversation with him in a private setting. The politics, we are professionally, I mean, allowed to make critical, judgments or critical reading of what he is.
And the book also one would like to read is Priyanka Gandhi. What is your take on her? If I can ask you an off-syllabus question.
No, there is a bit of Priyanka Gandhi. Of course, there's a
Uh,
bit of Mrs. Gandhi also, Sonia Gandhi as well. But I mean, they are more in terms of how they related to the deaths in the family. Now, how they related to the major upheavals inside the family. I'm just trying to look at how Mrs. Gandhi looked at it. That is
Trauma.
Mrs. Sonia Gandhi. How did she look at trauma? How did Priyanka look at trauma? How did Rahul look at trauma? And what has been their processes of reconciliation has been a large question that I ask in the book.
And Rahul, I think trauma really looms large because he refers to it again and again. You've also
Yes,
made this point,
yes, 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 yeah.
as opposed to Priyanka and Sonia.
For 20 years, his speeches have been punctuated by that, Priya.
Right.
So that is a very telling kind of a thing. So I do write elaborately about it.
Well, there is, hearing you talk about Rahul also, there is an element of understanding, I would say, more than appreciation or sympathy or whatever the word you use. So thank you for that. And thank you for this conversation. I'm, looking forward to enjoying the book, which I'm sure everybody will. I recommend it pretty highly also, going by our earlier books. So thank you so much, Ugata, for this conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.